My name is Blaine Price. I'm a senior lecturer in computing at the Open University. In the last video, you saw me gather evidence against one of our course managers who was suspected of selling exam solutions on eBay. There were a number of problems with the way I conducted the investigation. Hopefully you spotted some of these while you were watching the video, but let's go through now and see what could have been done better. The investigation starts okay with the initial indication that something illegal might be happening. But I quickly got carried away and started getting people to order things for me on eBay. Stumbling across some evidence is one thing, but carrying out an entire investigation on my own is another. Once I had the initial evidence, I should have reported it to senior management. After considering all the relevant laws, regulations, and any other obligations the university may have, management may then choose to commission me or someone else to carry out an investigation. But any investigation must have a clear purpose and scope defined in advance. For example, am I to try to find all instances of exam selling in the university, or just track down the one culprit behind this ad? Am I to search one individual's computer, or try to look at central email servers, or ask eBay for access to their data? Are my findings to be kept confidential? It's very easy for an investigation to have scope creep, so answering these questions up front is crucial. I also need to make sure that management is advised of any relevant legal issues. For example, if I have an indication that a criminal law has been violated, then management should contact the police. But even if it is a strictly internal, confidential matter, we still have to comply with the law in terms of privacy and permitted surveillance. We also need to make sure that the person being investigated has signed the Computing Code of Conduct or Acceptable Use Policy and is aware of the rules regarding exam security and confidentiality. So let's assume that I am now conducting a properly commissioned and scoped investigation. Let's see what happens next. Setting aside the fact that I had an unknown person purchase this, the first big issue is the continuity of evidence. I took the USB drive out of a previously opened envelope. We don't know who might have touched the drive from the point the postman delivered it until I showed it to you. It should have been placed unopened in an evidence bag by the person who took custody of it, and he or she should have signed and dated it and kept it strictly secure until the bag was personally handed to me, at which point I should have signed and dated it to show I now had custody. Now, ignoring the fact that I didn't handle the drive using gloves, so any fingerprint or DNA evidence is now tainted, the second issue is just as crucial. I insert it into my Windows laptop, which will certainly be writing information to the drive and contaminating the original evidence. Instead, I should have used a write blocker with a forensically sound copy of the original so I could show I haven't altered the original data. I could also use an approved forensic program like Helix, which will mount the copy read-only. Next, I lied to Crispin to get him away from his computer, and I lied to Rihanna about having his permission to use the computer. As you will learn in the legal section of M889, Article 8 of the European Convention on Human Rights guarantees an individual's right to privacy, with only a few exceptions. In the UK, this is enacted in the Human Rights Act of 1998, and most other jurisdictions also have similar privacy laws. The Open University's Computing Code of Conduct prohibits me from accessing computers without authorization. In order to violate Crispin's right to privacy, I would need specific authorization from senior management, who should have noted why it was necessary. Further, the level of my violation of Crispin's privacy must be proportionate to the alleged offense. For example, asking security to strip search him would certainly be disproportionate. Most jurisdictions also have laws prohibiting unauthorized access, such as the UK's Computer Misuse Act of 1990, so by now I've probably committed at least one criminal offense. Now, the remainder of my investigation reveals a number of smoking guns on Crispin's machine. The evidence of the USB drive being plugged in, the remnants of the eBay ad in the internet cache, and the exam files in the recently used file list. I also jumped to the conclusion that he placed the ad just because I can see it in his cache. He He could claim that he also discovered the ad and was about to report it. We would need to find cached pages showing the ad uploading to eBay to have a real smoking gun. The main problem with this evidence is that I found it while working directly on Crispin's machine. This means that I was actually causing modifications to Crispin's machine as I was examining it. Crispin could now claim that any of the things on his disk were due to my actions, since it is no longer possible to separate the consequences of my actions from his, and it will be impossible for someone else to reproduce the evidence because my actions have irreparably changed the contents of the disk. Except in specialized circumstances, such as if hard disk encryption is suspected, I should work on a forensic copy of Crispin's machine, so anything I do is repeatable by another expert. Finally, I should have kept contemporaneous notes, either in a notebook or another computer, in a tamper-evident format like case notes. Although having a full video record is probably just as good, you probably won't be able to afford an independent video crew in all your investigations. These three issues are embodied in the Principles for Handling Digital Evidence produced by the UK Association of Chief Police Officers, or ACPO. 1. No action should be taken which changes data held on a computer or storage device if the evidence is to be relied on in court. 2. If it is necessary to access live data, then the person doing so must be competent and give evidence as to the relevance and implications of his actions. And 3, an audit trail must be created so a third party could examine the process and evidence and produce the same result if necessary. So, the lessons learned from this investigation are: always make sure your investigation is properly commissioned and scoped by management. If you're going to violate someone's privacy, make sure that you have signed authorization from senior management and that they determine that it is both necessary and proportionate. Make sure any evidence you gather is collected in a forensically sound manner so that others can reproduce your actions. Take care not to contaminate the evidence unnecessarily by your actions. Make sure evidence is stored and handled securely, preferably in tamper-proof evidence bags, which are signed and dated as they pass from person to person. Finally, if you can't afford a video crew to follow you around, make sure you take contemporaneous notes, either in a bound notebook or specialized note-taking software like Case Notes that prevents editing after an entry is made. So if you do find yourself being called to perform an investigation or secure evidence, follow the Boy Scout motto and be prepared. Make sure you have the necessary tools to hand before you begin.